Okay, and there's a third and final lesson to standard 3. Okay, the goal is to do the same thing you did yesterday, but now you got a little problem. And that problem is that the A is not 1. Okay? You're going to set it up the same way. There's 2 things you have to really focus on. Okay? And we're using b over 2 squared, and we'll be using the t-chart. Okay? So completing the squares. Here's the first problem. Kick minus 17 out. That doesn't change. After he's kicked out, I'm going to scribble him off. Okay, I don't want to worry about him no more. You need to get this so it is 1. So you need to divide these both by 4, but not this one. Okay? So you're going to, in this 4 you're dividing by, you don't just get rid of it, you kick it outside. So 4 divided by 4 is 1 with x squared. 40 divided by 4 is 10, so minus 10x plus, and this is for the new c I bring in. And here's A and here's B. 4 has nothing to do with the ABC at this point, okay? All right, so my B is 10 divided by 2 to the second. That's 5 to the second, and that's 25. Now here's the next problem that people have. You're like, okay, so minus 25. No. You're like, no, what do you mean? You're going to minus 100. No. Think about that. Where do you think I'm getting 100? Well, probably because we have an outside factor. And what's the product of 4 and 25? 100. I didn't just bring in 25. I brought in the product of 25 and 4. So that's 100. So we minus 100 instead. Then everything else is the same. So it's those key things. If it's not A is not 1, you got to factor whatever the A is out. Whatever number that A is. You don't have to worry about GCF. Whatever that A is, you're dividing by. Kick him out. And you're like, what if I get a decimal? You won't. Okay? Just trust me. Okay, so connect your A to your C, and that's 25. Sum of 10, and that'd be 5 times 5. And the 10's minus. Those are identical factors, and because it's a sum, they'll be the same sign. Now you need to drop your 4 and then make 2 parentheses. And then A is now 1, just like we want. So x, I only need 2. That's part of the reason you get rid of that, so you can only use 2. It doesn't work very well with 4. And then negative 17 minus 100 is negative 117. And then the last step, you drop the 4, write it as x minus 5 quantity squared minus 117. Next problem. Kick him out. Okay, he's still there. We're just going to throw him out, and I'm going to set up what I need to do over here on complete. When you see complete square completion, this is the go-to strategy. Okay, your A is not 1. You need to then divide by what the A currently is, which is negative 2, and negative 2 gets factored out. So it's going to be 1 with x squared. It's going to be negative 8 with x plus something else. And that's when we go to our b over 2 squared. Okay, here's my b. That's 8 to the second, and that's 4 to the second, and that's 16. I didn't just bring in 16, though. I brought in the product of 16 and negative 2. So let's take 16 times negative 2. Negative 32. So that's what I really brought in. Now, if we have negative 32, I think you need to cancel that by adding 32. Because that product's negative, so I'm going to add it. Okay, and then everything's good. I got my C that I want. So A times C is 16. Sum of 8. 4 and 4. Minus, okay, both the same. So I drop my negative 2, x, again, because it's 1x squared, and then both minus 4. The negative 17 plus 32 is 15. Okay, so drop your negative 2, write the x minus 4 as a quantity squared, and then plus 15. Okay, next problem. Same idea. The 3y equals, and then the b over 2 squared, and the chart. Okay. Kick the minus 60 out. Whatever the constant is, kick him out. Don't want him. Now, don't you dare put that down there until it's 1. Okay, cross that out. Because I don't need to divide the 60. Okay. Divide by 3. And then 3 is factored out, and I get 1x squared minus 8x plus a, b, c. Now let's find our c using this formula. So it's 8 over 2 squared, and that would be 4 squared, and that's 16. Okay, now again, I didn't just bring in 16. I brought in the product of 16 and 3, and that's positive 48, so I minus 48. Okay, now you can do your t-chest. So 16 positive, sum of 8. That's 4 and 4. Now that 8's minus, so 4 is minus, and so is that one. Okay. So we need to drop the 3, and then we make this into 2 parentheses instead of 1. 1x squared, so xx, and we know we're going to put minus 4, minus 4. And that's going to be negative 108, and then we wrap that up 3, and then x minus 4 quantity squared minus 108. Okay, well, as soon as you know what you're doing, you can probably go ahead and work. I'm going to keep doing samples. Okay, 3. We're using b over 2 squared, and after I find that, I'm going to be using my t-chart, okay? Kick minus 14 out, cross it out. Now, we need to make that into 1, so I do that by dividing both of these by negative 10. I don't get rid of the negative 10, it comes out here, okay? Negative 10 divided by negative 10 is 1, x squared. 60 divided by negative 10 is negative 6, so write minus 6 with x, and then plus something else, okay? And that's a, that's b. Now we need to find the c value that we want. Okay, so b is 6. We'll just go with 6 over 2 squared, 3 squared, and that's 9, okay? Again, we didn't just bring in 9, we brought in 9 times negative 10, which is negative 90. So to negate negative 90, if you wanted to cancel out negative 90, you plus 90. Okay. All right, now take your A times your C, and when you're doing your T-chart, just focus on these 3 things. Ignore all that outside garbage. Okay. 9 positive, sum of 6, and that's 3 and 3. So I drop my negative 10, I make 2 parentheses out of that. 1x squared, that'd be xx, and then I should have put signs on here. 6 is negative, so these 3's will both be negative. Okay, negative 14 plus 90, that is going to be 76 positive. Please put plus 76, don't just put a 76 out there. Okay, so I have negative 10, and then x minus 3 quantity squared plus 76. Okay, y equals. Good, I'm glad I'm doing a problem like this. Okay. Plus 2's out, and then forget it for the time being. You don't need to divide here, guys. You already have your 1. So just drop it. That's A, that's B, and I want myself a new C. So to find the C, and by the way, this is what C equals, okay? So B would be 24. I know it's negative, but just don't worry about that, okay? So that's 12 to the second, and that's 144. Okay, now, you can just minus 144 because you don't have anything outside here. So it's just going to be, you just brought in 144. It's not being multiplied by anything out here. So I minus it. Okay, now it's time for the chart. You're like, I thought we didn't do T-charts with numbers in the hundreds. Yeah, but I know that it's got to be at something times itself. Well, if I don't know what that is, I can find the square root of it, I guess. Oh, 12. I know that it's 12 times 12. And what do you know? That's a sum of 24. So we have minus on the B. Sum means they'll match. Okay. Okay, you just need, again, you're always going to just need 2 parentheses. None of this 4 garbage because we always make the A into 1. It was already 1 here, but that's fine. Okay. So minus 12 minus 12. 2 minus 144 is negative 142. So put minus 142. And then x minus 12 to the second minus 142. Okay, next problem. Plus 3 is out. Okay, don't want that. So we need to divide by 9. Each of these are divisible by 9. And I put problems where they were both divisible by that number, so you don't have to worry about getting a decimal there. So this 9 I'm dividing by comes out. It's like I'm undistributing it, unfoiling it, whatever you want to call it. That's 1x squared minus 2x plus, and then I blank. Okay, I want a new thing. So A, B, C. Okay, find your C. I'm going to start drawing a blank for that C so you know where. So B is 2. It's negative 2, but I'm just using 2. Divide it by 2 to the second. That's 1 to the second. And what's 1 times itself? 1 times 1, that's 1. Okay, now I need to negate out here, cancel out. I got a 1 here, but it was 1 times 9, which is 9 positive, so I need to minus 9. Okay, do your T-chart. 1 times 1 is 1. And I need to find a sum of 2. These are always sums because you're always going to be taking a positive times a positive. Okay, so 1 and 1 would be it, and that adds to 2. So the 2 is minus, so I think those will both be minus. So I drop my 9, and I make 2 parentheses. 1x squared, that's x, and then minus 1, and 3 minus 6 is negative 6. Okay, so you drop your 9, and that'll be x minus 1 to the second minus 6. Okay, next problem. We know we're using this formula, and we know we're going to need to do a T-chart. Alright, so kick minus 4 out, and then we're going to ignore him for a second. And we want to divide by negative 9, so I factor out negative 9 here. So I'm going to have 1x squared, and then negative 4x, so minus 4x. Don't be doing that plus negative stuff. Plus blank, okay? And that's A, B, C. Now we need to find the C by using this formula. So B would be 4 divided by 2 to the second, and that's 2 to the second, and that's 4. Okay, you didn't bring in just 4, you brought in 4 times negative 9. That's negative 36, man. Look at that. So I would plus 36 then to cancel it out on the same side. Okay, so 1 times 4 is 4. Sum of 4. I think it's 2 times 2. That also is a sum of 4. We have minus 4 on B, so they'd both be minus. Okay. So drop your negative 9. A is 1, so xx minus 2 minus 2. Negative 4 plus 36 is positive 32. Okay. So negative 9, and then we have x minus 2 quantity squared plus 32. Okay, finally we're at the end, and you have 4 of these to do on your own. Okay, kick plus 1 out. I don't want anything to do with him for the time being. I want a new c. We are going to need to cross him out. We're going to divide just those two. So 3 pops out. That becomes 1x squared minus 6x plus blank. Okay. A, B, C. Now we have to find our c using the b over 2 squared formula. So b is 6. Again, forget the fact that it's negative because that's just going to confuse you, because when you square it, it ends it up positive regardless. You didn't just bring in 9, you brought in 9 times 3. That's positive 27. So I'm minus 27. Okay, so it's time to do the t-test. Positive 9, sum of 6. That would be 3 times 3. Now 6 is minus, so they'll both be minus. So I pull the 3 down, make 2 parentheses, xx, minus 3, and 1 minus 27 is negative 26. So 3, and then x minus 3 second, and then minus 26. Okay.